If you are in the situation where you are seriously considering ending your marriage, as a Christian woman, one of the biggest fears, right, is that what if I get it wrong? What if this isn't actually God's will for me to go down that path? I'm really not sure. I just know that things aren't working and I just feel like I'm at a crossroads and I really need to make a decision. Before I go any further, I want to add this caveat. A crisis in a marriage could be caused by all kinds of things. And in some circumstances, it's absolutely necessary that you do remove yourself if you are in any danger or anything like that. So there's wisdom, obviously, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear. What I'm going to talk to you about in this video may not be appropriate based on the exact nature of the scenario that you're in, okay? I just wanted to say that. Let's go on. I'm Julie, and I am an accredited coach and rapid transformational therapy practitioner. And I've been married for more than 30 years, and I'm a lover of Jesus. And I know what it feels like to be in that position, to be weighing up whether or not it's time to end the marriage. And, that fear of not getting that decision right. Well, in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through things that you can do to discern God's voice in this matter, whether or not God is telling you to let go of your marriage or to stay. And you'll know 3 specific ways to position yourself in everyday moments to discern what God is saying to you. But before we dive in, don't forget to share this message so that it reaches more people who may be in a similar situation to you. Now, the very first thing I want to say on this question of, is God telling me to let go of my marriage, is this. Whatever you do, do not make such a monumental, life-changing decision when you are in the thick of the hurt and the pain. I'm not saying to ignore those feelings, to ignore what happened. What I'm saying is to give yourself time and space. Otherwise, you're making the decision on your emotional state more than anything else and your own interpretation of the situation. You need to hear God clearly on this, okay? Now, you may be wondering, how do I discern God's voice in this? It's really hard right now. Well, I'm going to walk you through a passage that will more than likely be familiar to you, and that is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. And it says this, trust in the Lord completely. Do not rely on your own opinions. With all of your heart, rely on Him to guide you, and He will lead you in every decision you make. Become intimate with Him in whatever you do, and He will lead you wherever you go. Okay, so number 1 is positioning your trust. Trust in the Lord completely and do not rely on your own opinions. For Jesus and His word is the absolute compass and your plumb line in this for every matter of life, right? We have to take Him at His word, not our own words or the words of those around us. If you are looking for biblical grounds for divorce, guess what? You'll definitely find them. There are verses in the Bible that make it very clear. But my encouragement to you is this. If you're searching the scriptures for those biblical grounds for divorce, search the scriptures to understand the heart of Father God. Because you need to understand the answer to this question. What is in the Father's heart for me in this moment? What does He want me to understand right now that I can't see? And let me tell you why this is important from my own life. So, monumental crisis happened in my marriage, okay? And I had literally separated myself from the home. I was staying with a friend and in absolute turmoil, wondering, is this the end of my marriage? I was a mess, okay? And I remember one night just sobbing and sobbing to God, praying and talking to Him and asking Him the question, How did we even get here? My husband isn't the same man that he was when we got married. And just then a memory came to my mind, and it was a verse from our wedding vows that said, in sickness and in health. And then the Lord put it on my heart to say this, or saying this. He said, Julie, this is an illness that your husband has. And when I heard the way that God reframed the perspective from his view of the situation, it changed my heart because, man, let me tell you, I was calling the solicitor, I was calling the bank, I was down the trajectory of the marriage is over and this is it. But with that pivot and getting God's perspective, getting the Father heart in that moment shifted everything for me, and it gave me the courage and the inspiration to pick up the phone the next day, call my husband, and arrange to meet in a coffee shop and have that first conversation about where to from here. So it's so important. Yes, you're going to find biblical verses that are grounds for divorce, but please do not neglect getting into the Father's presence, just talking to him every day and listening for his voice to guide you. Number 2, positioning your heart. With all your heart, this is what the verse says, with all your heart, rely on him to guide you, and he will lead you in every decision you make. And now Proverbs 9:10, chapter 9, verse 10 also says this, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. Now, let's get really practical here, okay? How do you rely on him to guide you? Well, what I did, I talked to him every moment of every day when I was in that crossroads. Every opportunity I had, I was talking to him. And that is my encouragement to you in terms of how do you rely on him to guide you? Bring him into every single conversation, your thoughts, and he will lead you one step to the next, to the next. Trust him for the day. What is in front of you for the day? The other thing that I would say in terms of making this really practical is journal. Journal for the purpose of recording what he is showing you and noticing those things. What I would often find is that in the process of journaling, new thoughts would come that I just knew weren't my own. And the other thing I want to share with you about positioning your heart is to ask yourself this question: is there some unforgiveness in my heart, Lord? Invite him to show you. Because if there is some unforgiveness there, then it's important to have a conversation with him about that. I've got one more story for you, but before I go any further, please don't forget to hit share, like this video, and subscribe so you get more content as well. Okay, so here's the other story I have for you on the subject of forgiveness. So I was at a women's retreat, and I had some time to myself, and I was sitting on a swing with my notebook, and out of nowhere, the memory of a moment where I was deeply, deeply hurt came to my mind, and I literally felt like a stabbing pain. It felt physical, and it took me back, right? I said, God, where is this pain coming from? Because as far as I was concerned, I had said the prayer of forgiveness, had the conversations, and I thought I had done everything I needed to do to exercise forgiveness. But man, this pain just came out of nowhere. And as I posed that question to God, this picture came to my mind. And what I saw, what God showed me, was a microscope of all things. And he explained to me that when you use a microscope, you've got to sort of, position yourself over it, and you've got to shut one eye, and you're looking at through the microscope. And the thing that you are looking at, you are magnifying it and making it bigger, and you cannot see anything else, right? He said, you need to look at that moment, at that situation, through the lens of the kaleidoscope of my glory. Just Let that sink in. The kaleidoscope of my glory. Now think about how you use a kaleidoscope. You hold it up to the light, for starters, right? You hold it up to the light, and as you look and the light's coming in, you see all these gorgeous colors and fragments of patterns and shapes creating a picture. And he said to me, that thing that you experienced is just a tiny, tiny fragment in the much bigger picture of work that I am doing. And from that moment with that picture, I never, ever again felt that physical pain of that memory. Yes, the memory's still there. This isn't about forgetting the words or the situation. It's not about forgetting, but it's about how we process it. And it is about releasing it and letting it go. Okay? So I want to give that to you in terms of positioning your heart, and that if you are holding on to some unforgiveness there, try to reframe it through the lens of the kaleidoscope of God's glory. Okay, let's go on to number 3. This one is my favorite. Deepening your intimacy. The verse says, become intimate with him in whatever you do, and he will lead you wherever you go. This piece continues, right, about talking to him every moment of the day, every opportunity you have, about what you're dealing with, inviting him into the conversation, asking him to show you the next step. I've got another story for you, and this time, again, coming from my own personal experience of something God showed me, but also a verse to back it up. And I just remember this one particular season where I was really struggling with my attitude towards my husband, and grief and a few different things that were going on, right? And I'm a vivid dreamer. I mostly remember my dreams, but more importantly, I do always remember the times when God speaks to me in my dream. Here is what I saw in the dream. In the dream, I saw myself being picked up from behind, like, you know, those claw machines, and this big hand comes in and comes down and picks something up, right? So in the dream, this claw hand had picked me up. So I'm just dangling there, and I'm above the earth. And very slowly, as I'm being picked up, I'm being turned around. And in my mind, in the dream, I'm going, I'm going to see God face to face. I'm about to see the living God. I'm going to see him. And this hand turned me around, and I'm getting ready to have this incredible vision of the living God. And it was my husband. It was his face. And he said this, I am your husband. That was the end of the dream. And I remember waking up and thinking, that was incredible. That was amazing. And also surprising. But here's the point. Isaiah 54 verse 5 says this, for your maker is your husband, the Lord of hosts is his name. And again, that completely shifted my perspective on things and gave me a completely different attitude towards my husband with that fresh revelation. Okay, to recap, here are 3 questions you need to ask yourself for your situation and what you're in. Are you ready? Okay. So I've got 3 questions for you to ask yourself in the situation that you're in right now. So if you need to go and grab a journal and a notepad, that's the same thing. If you need to grab a journal and a pen, do that now. Question number 1. Where am I relying on my own opinions in this situation and not giving my complete trust to the Lord in this? Question number 2, is there any unforgiveness in my heart that I need to release? And question number 3, what is one thing I can do to deepen my intimacy with the Lord? At the start of the video, I said that I would walk you through 3 things you can do to discern God's voice in your situation. These were, number 1, position the focus of your trust. Number 2, position your heart. And number 3, deepen your intimacy with Jesus. those three things and implementing those three things, you will discern God's voice in your situation. And like I said too, yes, you can find biblical verses, biblical grounds for divorce. But if you are going to go hunting for those to substantiate your position, balance that with also searching for biblical grounds on understanding the Father heart of God. He is the God of reconciliation. He is the God of healing. He is the God of peace. If this video encouraged you, then I've got one more thing I want to tell you about. I've created a community called Marital Crossroads to Clarity. And I created this because it was something that I didn't have when I was going through a crisis in my marriage. And that is a place to go to where there's going to be practical resources, lots of encouragement, and building community to help navigate the situation with God, walking Him one step at a time, right? So please, I'd love to see you over there. Click the link in the description below and come and say hello. Have a look at the About page, see if it's a fit. And also, what resonated with you most in the video, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it.